Welcome friends to another 40k video. Today we look at the Sisterhood of Silence, as shown in Horus Heresy Book 7, Inferno. What is their purpose? Where did the Silent Sisters come from? Friends, let's find out. The Sisters are treated with fear across the Imperium and have entered folklore on many compliant worlds, despite the Imperium's agents trying to stop that. They travel the galaxy in black ships and harvest humans with the Psyker's gift. Be it a child or an adult, it makes no difference. They do not discriminate. You can't hide from them and you can't stop them. They serve as the militant arm of the Divisio and Adeptus of the Astra Telepathica. They have authority to run roughshod over all powers of the wider Imperium. In pursuit of their task, and to show how highly they are valued, they are allowed into the domains of the Master of Mankind and his household, and this is right only shared with the Legio Custodes, or later Adeptus Custodes, as they are now called. So why this granting us so much power to hunt down errant Psykers? It's because they have been born as an untouchable. They cast no shadow in the warp. They have no soul. This makes them immune to Psyker assaults. Even their presence causes Psykers pain and fear, as if something is wrong with them. In those without the gift, who are around them, the source book makes a comparison to a mannequin or automata, which apes humanity but remains unalive. This null soul runs against the perception of all they encounter. Some cast the null effect stronger than others amongst the Silent Sisters, but all feel the person is off around them, even Xenos species when they meet them. The very strongest of these are sisters, who are allowed into the ranks of the Sisters of Silence. This ability also makes them perfect psychic hunters. They are all but impossible to affect with psycho abilities. Their minds cannot be deceived, and their bodies cannot be possessed. Even if the psycho called on the warp to launch debris or conjure fire, this is lessened or the effect completely stopped by the Anathema Psychana. A sister also cannot be perceived by a psyker, as they interfere with the flow of the warp wherever they go, and someone who has gone further amongst the Silent Sisters, far enough that they can make it actually hazardous to use psychic powers when around them. Those people, those specialists, become Oblivion Knights, elite amongst elites, and they handle alpha-level rogue psykers. And now we will delve into their origins. There are several theories on this, but all are cast with a dose of speculation. We first look to a world called Pentacanes. Relatively stable and near to Terra through the warp, it was captured and brought into compliance early on in the Great Crusade. It was a good site for a fleet to anchor. It was a frontier outpost. Regiments would be posted there temporarily before being redeployed to the front lines. Many young soldiers were taken from there to support the Great Crusade. Between the rot in the leadership and many living in slums and hive sinks, it was a breeding ground for dark beliefs and cults. One such was called the Final Banquet. It reacted violently to attempts to suppress it and was led by psykers. Not long after the cult reached Imperial intelligence, news was passed along, and soon after a black ship arrived in orbit and a force was dispatched to end the cult and capture the leadership. And here those thin details get fuzzier, but what is known is those forces were never heard from again. The area of the cult that they are based in is called Distempora, was filled with bloodshed, and this spread through the southern hemisphere of the planet. Riots and savagery were everywhere. A psychic force was behind this, a plague of madness, and this led to a state of emergency being declared, and a cordon was established around the infected areas of the planet. But those forming the cordon began to fall to the madness themselves, and when the imperial governor was killed, authority fell to those on the black ships, in particular one person, Captain Gigan Dantes. He judged the planet did not have that long, despite the starters being on their way. Attacking from orbit also did not halt the plague. There is only one force that could halt this, and here the Null Maidens are called the Daughters of the Crow. They were from an obscure feral world of female-led techno-barbarians. The planet of origin did not even have a name. They had only recently been mustered into service in the Great Crusade. But whilst on board the Black Ship, they had been fighting with other forces there, a hint of their strangeness affecting other people and setting them on edge perhaps. Once landed, This small regiment not only held against the feral onslaught, but drove back those down with the sickness, and none of its members suffered the psychic contamination. Captain Dantes, versed in Psychana law, knew a lot of them must be untouchables, but this number was unprecedented. He armed them and moved them into the very heart of the nightmare. Here, as the book tells it, they gave battle to the transfigured horrors that had been unleashed from the Gestalt minds of the Holy Family. The cult gave battle, and the maidens slew them. When this happened, a shockwave of psychic energy made its way over the planet. Some died, their hearts stopped, as the parasite that had driven them was slain, and others were driven mad by the experience. Then the space wolves would later arrive to settle the planet down. 1 billion dead was the toll of this madness. But by the time they had arrived, the Daughters of the Crow had left long ago on a black ship. This incident was an isolated one in Imperial records, and in regard to the Sisters' origins, it is believed by many that the Nulls fighting there remade the psychic arm of the Imperium. Those who say this are contested by others, and say the incident itself was an invention. And those people would go as far to say that the Imperium had arranged everything, an experiment in the use of the Anathema Psychana. Another theory is their origins go back further, and that their forces needed a high number of Nulls before they could be deployed effectively. Either way, the Divisio Investigatis became synonymous with a new militant order, that of the Sisters of Silence, and so recruitment from this type of psycho was made along with the normal variety by the black ships. They would be harvested and deployed in the name of the Emperor.